Okay, good morning traders. Welcome to Trade Setup in the morning live stream for the 11th of the 11th, so 11th of November. Hope we're all doing well. It's been an interesting couple of days, obviously. We'll take a look at the market, so what happened last night. It wasn't not too much last night, bit of a mixed market. I think Europe was a bit mixed. We had, I think it was the DAX was pretty much break even in the end. FTSE was down, and the US finished slightly up, so I think there's still people are still trying to sort out how they view the Trump. Obviously, there's a bit of positivity around, but repositioning themselves just for what the Trump presidency will bring them. So I think we're having an interesting night last night and the night before, obviously. Uh, if anyone wants to push through some charts, obviously, to support at tradesetup.com.au, or just put them through chat. If we're having any problems with anything at all, if there's something you'd like to take a look at, you can just shoot through an email. Again, at support at tradesetup.com.au. Yeah, anything that could improve the service at all, just please send it through. We're always looking to tweak things, I guess, and we just want people to get. We just want to build a good community. So don't be afraid just to whack through some comments or even just some areas that you want to focus on a bit more. If you've got some ideas, we'll take a look at it. No problem at all. So it's good just to sit in here and have a bit of a chat about trading and about improving. Really, that's it. That's the name of the game. And everyone trades differently. Obviously, everyone's got a different idea of the market. Some people might walk away from what I say and just think it's not for them. It's rubbish, but that's fine. But always, I think the idea is always to try to learn and try to improve your skill set and improve your trading. So never can hurt to listen, I guess, and just exchange ideas. Anyway, let's get into it. I'll drop this down. Let's just get into the markets and take a look. We've got the markets only up 15 at the moment on the XJO. I want to show you a SPY chart just in a minute. It's just a 1 minute chart, but just to see. It's pretty much getting squeezed at the moment, the market, it looks like. So it could just be, maybe building a few higher lows and lower highs. So we could just break out and wash out the top side shortly. I'm not sure, but we'll take a look at that in a second. So the market up 16. I wouldn't expect anything too flash today. I know I've said that before, but just the way it is. Friday, we've had a couple of big days, big sessions. People getting washed out on the short side. I'd expect there would have been a few fund managers hurting the last couple of days. A few margin calls would have been hit, obviously, on that big washout, and then people having to position themselves back in once they saw how the US reacted the night following our the Trump or the first night when Trump was elected. So I think, like I said, there would have been a few funds. I think the idea is to try and keep neutral, as best you can, without your portfolio getting hammered. So just positioning yourself. Like we took a couple of shorts into the market. At that time, it just started. A few were popping up that were looking good, and just putting those in your portfolio at least balances things out a bit more. Of course, if you can, with our trading style, we're both sides of the market. It doesn't matter to us. Trying to get a view of what you think could happen and where you're going to get hurt and where you're not, where you could make money. So all that sort of thing, just planning ahead. And that, I guess, that entails just going through the markets, getting a bit of view. We saw the market looking a bit top heavy at one stage. Obviously, didn't expect what happened. That's obvious, but it was looking a bit top heavy, and it's still longer term. It could be. This could just be a bit of a bounce, massive bounce, and then roll over. We don't know what's going to happen, but just trying to plan ahead for different scenarios. Let's get into. Let's just look at what happened overnight on the ASX. Just close it out, and I think it's a US bank holiday today as well. So I wouldn't expect too much tonight. Just as on another note, on Monday we're going to be kicking off at a different time. We're going to try around that 12:30 mark. So the live stream won't be on at 10:15. It'll be pushed back a bit. Trying at midday, I think there'll be a lot more people that can actually. We've had a few people that say they want to watch live, but they're struggling at the time zone. So we're just going to try a different time. If it affects anyone, just let us know. And we'll see how we go there. But that from Monday, just wait out for the alert. It will send out an alert again, and that'll be around the midday mark, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, so you can see the comment just popped up there. So the best results for traders who had both long and short, because we, say for instance, we had an ASX short, and I think it's actually bounced a bit today, but that big washout, it just gave us the opportunity to, here we go, 47.21. So we were short from 47.01. It's had that push down, a bit of a bounce. Okay, so we're still looking quite good. And on what was that, the Wednesday? Wednesday actually got poleaxed, so we just took the opportunity to take some off the table, because you never know what's going to happen. It could end up rolling over, or this thing could just bounce higher. It may hold below 48 and then roll over again. We don't know, or it could just have a big correction, go higher. So just being able to take those opportunities, having the your shorts in place, just coming to election, just because you expect that volatility. And that's the thing. There's enough talk about it, and sort of matching to Brexit. So just remembering that even if nothing comes about of it, from start to finish, I guess, but there's always going to be some sort of volatility over it, because we're expecting it, and traders are expecting it. The fears are going to start, running high, especially with that big sell-off. People are going to be just bailing, thinking that's the end of the world, and then seeing it the next day, and then same the reverse, a bit of fear when they're jumping back in again, that they're going to miss the boat. So just remembering over these sorts of big events, a lot of the times, from start to finish, I guess the overall bigger picture doesn't change, but it's that the shorter term volatility we just got to take to account for. And it's a good idea just to, if you can, balance your portfolio with a few shorts, only ones that look set up. Like, when the ones we chose did look set up quite nice, and the ASX is not. We've taken some on that. I can't quite remember where we placed our exit for the remaining. It could have just been done today. We'll see how that goes. But Telstra is still looking good. I mean, that really didn't have a lot of volatility. If anything, it just pushed down. I think that was the Wednesday move here. So that pushed down on the day, obviously, but the day before it was seen a bit of action as well. So that hasn't really bounced with the overall market. If anything, yesterday when the market bounced, it opened up a bit stronger and then headed south again and finished lower for the day. So that's still looking weak. So we're still happy with that one. The ASX is not going the right way, but that could easily roll over. We don't know what's going to happen. But just taking good quality setups, I think that's a rule of thumb, a general rule of thumb. If you can do that, stick to your setup, stick to your rules. Like we were talking about that yesterday, when I had to kick myself a few times just to make sure I wasn't going to jump in long on the SPY. Obviously, it's a bit of a problem I have sometimes, just trying to second guess the market, but just remembering that stick with my rules, my setups, and things will work out. And it did work out in the end. Worked out quite well. May have missed a few opportunities on the short side, but that's trading, I guess, too. Yeah, there's a kind of short, weak stocks and trade long, strong stocks. So that's always good, a general rule of thumb to stick to. All right, let's just go over the ASX. Let's just take a look at that. So you can see that that's been a nice strong bank, a big washout of that 50-50 zone last few days. But we still got, if we can just get that up, we still got that overhead resistance. I'll just draw it up. Here we go. We're coming with my fancy little tool again. And we'll go down to the intraday action. We'll just look at that on the in a second. So we've been discussing this for a while. Nice strong base through here. Well, not so much a strong base. We've had a big washout, and that sort of corrected into the zone. We took out these highs through here, built a higher low. Sorry, another higher low. Problem is, once we got to here, we started with potential. That wasn't a confirmed higher low. The zone at the moment, really, which we've just bounced off, that could hold up. We could see a bit of contraction. We're seeing a major lower high just in here at that 5,500. So this is I think this is our weekly. I can't remember what I put up now. That's a daily, sorry. So we've got, get my tool back, where are we? So we've got a major lower high in here, but really this zone here, if this can hold up and we start, that's our base. We've pushed up. Well, let me just start drawing that a bit nicer. We've pushed up, so that's that leg up here. We pulled back, made a higher low, potential higher low, because that's not confirmed until we break through the highs there. Okay, so we've pushed back up, made a lower high. We've touched down in that support, so we don't know at the moment. We're bouncing. We don't know what's going to happen from here. Whether we're just going to go up, roll over, and go down, or whether we're just going to pop up and do the reverse, so that, you know, that sort of type of, that's a nice ideal sort of scenario. We call it the shoulder trade. So you've got these lower highs for me. If you can get something on the shorter term, you know, a minor lower high, and you could sell into that, guessing that that's going to really push through that support zone, or the reverse, you're looking for those higher lows just to build, you know, for a trade through there. If you're looking for a long, that's an overall longer term higher low, which we could be looking for. So we don't know what's going to play out just yet, but just remembering that in the back of your head, what would happen if you're seeing this on the charts, and just keep referring to the, you know, your daily charts, keep referring to the price structure. Obviously that key level is 50-50 at the moment, big washout down to that zone, so that could just be a washout, and we could be building this type of scenario, you know, pushing up, pulling back, squeezing a few short traders back out again, and then pushing their way higher. We're going to look at the bank soon too, because I'm starting to see a bit of interest in there. We'll just go through a few there, because it's interesting to see their way they're moving, and they're holding up too. So they could be key. We don't know just yet. But if this is a major, on a weekly chart, a major high low at 50-50, and that's been rejected, you know, it's touched down there, it's been rejected just recently over the last couple of days, we've probably got a bit of work to do still before we can, you know, feel a bit more positive about the market and start attacking those 5,600 new highs. I think there's still a bit of work. You can see the distance between, say, 54, it's about 400 points, say, that sort of market. So I think it's got to squeeze in on itself a bit more, contract a bit more, do a bit nicer price action before we start picking a direction, really. But I think the way the market's taken this Trump victory is interesting, to say the least. Let's just take a look now, just going over a few markets before we get started. This is the 30-minute price action. You can see some, just draw that up, you can see some levels just in here. So I think coming into the close, the ASX closed when the market was about here, I think, but this is taking into account the futures price into the futures close, and then it's pushed up obviously, and then overnight it's sort of retested at 53.28, which is the highs for the day or thereabouts, and then it's sort of bounced off there. We don't know what's going to happen just yet, but this market could just be squeezing in on itself. If we show you the futures, which is ideally the same type of chart, we've had that push up. That was AM. Do a 5-minute. That's a 5-minute candle there. Go to a 30-minute. Big sell-off. Had that big correction, and then that pushed down and into the close there. I think it was 4 o'clock. So just into the close of the futures, once the ASX closed, they popped straight up and just washed out a lot of shorts that built up during the day, and obviously that built up through here, just washing out a lot of traders. So we built a major high low in here, so that's 52.70. We'll look at the ASX in a second, but it's holding, potentially it could be holding another high low. So if we get a move on the futures, say through that 53.45, I think it's going to start washing out some of these lower highs in here and start, that's potentially a nice little high low building. But if we take into account the this is the ASX here, you got a high low here, a potential another high low at 53.30 zone, 33, and then if we do pop through that that level through there, I think we're going to start washing out a few short traders that have built up, and then head our way back up to that type of level up there. Through that, just continue on up to 54.58 potentially. If not, if we start holding that zone, we retest it intraday, and then roll over through 53.28, we may contract a bit further. At least test this 52.87, maybe a bit lower before we find a bit of support enters the market, but we'll see. All right, Aussie. So any queries so far, guys? Anything you just want to chat about just on these topics just now? So mainly just gear it up towards the ASX at the moment, and then we'll go through a few stocks in a second. While I'm waiting, I'll have a sip of coffee. Alright, so the Aussie. So we've got an hour chart here. It's actually quite interesting. Let's just drill it right out. So again, that longer term, computer's having a bit of a hissy fit. That's awesome. Alright, so what we've got, let's just get rid of that. What we've got, still that longer term support, so it comes right through here, if we can get that. That longer term support, daily support, is still holding. Looks like it's still holding anyway. On the Aussies, we've had a contraction back down, held support, pushed up, took out the highs, not by much, and that's the thing. We're not seeing push through the highs by much. It's really just sort of pushing up, and if those highs don't get through convincingly, and they come straight back down and really pull back hard to build a high low, getting a bit concerned if the market continue on with it. You can see that the price action from before. So we've had major lower lows here. We pushed up, retested the highs, pushed back, made pushed back down, made that low. Was it 74.42 or that 74.40 zone, and then we're pushing up. So we're building from there. If we hold this zone in here, which would be interesting, it's a bit of really whippy price action just the last few days. We'll see if we can hold in here, and just I think that some of the volatility is going to come out of the market if we can hold this zone before we start building for a move up. Otherwise, it could just push straight back down through 75.65. But there's a few things just to watch out for. But yeah, we can see that price action through. It's pushed up, busted through some resistance at 77.50. Really just a washout, but it come from a good little support base, and then pretty much headed south over. That was a Trump, the elections. Oh, sorry. Headed south through the elections, just took out support, a couple of different levels of support, and headed straight back down to that major support zone at 75.65. Pushed down, fell short a bit, obviously, pushed back up to 77, and thought from here we might be building that base just to give it another go, but just made a lower high, fell short of 77.50 again, and then took out this low, really on its way back down to 75.65. So I think we really do need to see, well, for my view anyway. Okay. Just be 1 second there, Paul. Just have a quick continue on this, and we'll touch on that topic. Alright, so just drawing this nice little colour. If we can get just a bit of price action like this, potentially, if it looked pretty nice. That's not going to work, is it? Sorry, guys. But if we can just get this market showing it a bit of squeeze action and just holding some lower highs and higher lows and just building, sort of squeezing in on itself, contracting a bit, then I think that's just building the energy for a potential move. Now, if it just rolls over from here and just continues on, it could have been just a longer term major push lower. So we'll just have to keep an eye on the Aussie. Now let's get rid of that for starters. Alright, let's just head over to gold, have a quick look at gold. Now gold's been really whippy. We are washing out some levels. It's interesting to note, we've had that contraction low. If we just go to a 4-hour chart, for example, like we don't mind gold at the moment. Just the last few days, it doesn't really mean too much. The market can whip around but still hold the longer term structure and then build. Some of these stocks, we'll go through some of the gold stocks just in a minute as well. They're still structure-wise. I mean, they had a big run-up over the elections, and then pretty much fell away just after that. Fell away yesterday, but structure-wise, price structure-wise, they're still holding. They're still looking good. They're still in the zone. So this could take a long time to play out. So depending on your time frame and your view, that's the way you've got to attack it. But we're still seeing some good signs there. You can see on obviously gold, it's still holding highs, high lows. We've got a major high low there at say 1203, the 1200 zone, and we built another one at 1250, which we just touched down on, I think, last night. But the thing is, what we're seeing, if this level can hold the 1250 to 55, say, hold this sort of zone through here, it's still looking quite positive. And again, I think there's more volatility to come out of the market. I don't see this as a massive washout and then a rollover. We don't know, or that could be just a lower high, after a big washout to 1342 over the election, and then just pushing lower. But I see more of the longer term structure after seeing that big washout of that support zone, that support through there. Sorry, resistance through there. I expect more. We're sort of washing out both sides of the market. We're still holding a major support zone at 1250. Again, I just see some high lows building, a bit more contraction after these couple of big swing days, and then building for a move up. We'll have to see how that plays out. If it doesn't, we could just build a major lower high, say up 1285, and then just roll over longer term from there. But we'll just see how we go. All right. Now Paul, just looking at how is the futures, how does the futures market interact with the standard day trading? The futures in the US said it would drop 800 points, you see, but it rose 250. Yeah, it's it's more, on days like that, it's more your stocks that are sort of leading the futures more than anything, and the futures trade around it. The volatility, because underlying the futures are based around the stocks. Obviously, we do see the futures trading 24 hours. I think Devin's just sent through a note there. They do. We've got to remember they trade 24 hours. So during the election, the election was their night session. So the stock markets weren't open, and we got that big sell-off. Obviously, that's more fear and the volatility we expected to be leading the market more than anything else, and the futures just crashed and burned from there as we saw that. But once the equities open, it's all about the portfolios, the big portfolios, and how they're going to push the market around and what their views are. But yeah, we sort of did expect it. I think it went limit down on the futures. I can't remember now, but then yeah, we had that massive bounce once it opened up, and that you don't know how they're using the futures. Some fund managers may be going, well, okay, if this is, we can't get out of our stocks, what do? We just sell the futures just in case this market opens down and just crashes from there. They've got something in place as a hedge, and that's where there's massive volume on the E-mini, for example, and the Dow. I don't know how they would hedge it or what they would use in particular, but they've got those futures markets which they can use to hedge outside of their the stock, I guess, the equity markets when they're not open. And the same with the SPY. The SPY can be probably not to the same extent. Yeah. So well, yes and no. You don't know because a lot of the futures are used for intraday trading. Not the longer term portfolios, say on the stocks, could be using the futures to hedge for these bigger swings, and they expected obviously some volatility in the market, maybe just taking advantage of that also, and just selling the futures either as a hedge. So if it did open up down on the stock market, okay, they've got a hedge in place and they can just ease out of the stocks if that's what they were going to do, and maybe keep the hedge in place. You don't know. So it's just trying to limit their risk to the overall volatility, I guess, of the market. But the intraday, those things can swing around madly through intraday trading as well. I think the E-mini is one of the biggest futures, sort of intraday traded futures. So they're actually, it's good fun. It's such a big market, and there's a lot of professionals in there as well. So, and when they move, they can really move quite strong, and they do. The size, the number of contracts that some of these guys can do too. We're talking thousands. Some of the big boys can really hit thousands up. So it's really hard if you're jumping in one or two lots to, you just got to trade what you see. But yeah, I mean, the SPY could be used a bit the same way. During the night, if something happens in the US that our stock market's closed, they could be using the futures to hedge. Just hold, if the market looks like it's going to crash, they could just be shorting some of the futures, build up a bit of a hedge. The market, we know that's probably going to open down. If the US finishes down, our market's more than likely going to open down too, and then they just assess it from there. So if they're happy to get out of some of their, ease out of their stock portfolio, they've got a hedge in place. Ease out, they lose on the stock, make on their futures, ease off some of the hedge, and then they're sort of neutral overnight. I'm not saying that's how they do it and what they have to do, but it's just a way that they can use the futures outside of ours. Does that make sense? I hope that helps a bit. But I know that, yeah, there's a lot of liquidity in the US markets, US futures as well. All right, let's now I'll go through what I just want to have a quick look at. If I can get that up. I've got a few things I was going to take a look at, just a few entries, but I've got more time today too. So if you're happy just to sit there and listen, I'm happy to sit here and talk. All right, we've got, let's just take a look at some banks. I just think, let's just go back over. That's our Galaxy one we're going to keep an eye on today. It says it looks quite nice actually. Alright, so just get rid of that volume. On a weekly basis, I think we were long Westpac up here, obviously got stopped out there, but I still thought what we're seeing could be potentially quite good. I think we're coming to that space. We don't know what's going to happen from here. This is a weekly chart, so we'll go over the longer term plays for these more than short term. We'll just get up the drawing tool and we'll just mark up what we've got, just so we can get an idea. I mean, we don't know. How do we say? If we don't know what's going to happen with the banks, I mean, everyone's got their view on them. My view potentially could be with if we're getting the CPI is increased, there's potential for rate rises. Now, it could be one or two ways you could take it. It could hurt the housing market. Obviously, it's going to get rate rises. It's going to hurt the housing market. We don't know how people are leveraged, if they're geared to the hilt. You know, if they're using all for every cent they got to put into their mortgages, and then any rate rises just increases what their repayments, and then bang, they could be a bit of trouble there. Or if that doesn't hurt them too much, then we've got the banks making more money with the interest rate rises. That's just going to help their bottom line. Now, if that's the case, and we do start getting, we're not getting any severe rate rises, I wouldn't expect, but there is potential. Anyway, if we get a couple of rate rises, it's not going to happen, but obviously remembering the markets look ahead, they don't look back. So if we're gearing up, if there's potential for inflation to increase, and then that's got to be, if we're at the top end of the range, the RBA's range, I don't know what it is, 2 to 3% on CPI. If they get to the top end and that starts looking like it's getting out of hand, okay, we have to raise rates. And if that's the case, the market's already starting if that's what they're thinking, that's what they're factoring in now. It doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. It could just mean that's what they're starting to factor in, or any of these short positions on the rate cuts. Rate cuts could potentially be over. Maybe that's just an easing out of positions. We get a bit of consolidation, but you can see this the structure here on the weekly basis. Got a major low here. We had that breakout through these highs at 28. Retest, then higher lows have stepped in. Buyers have been stepping in. Had that bit of an accelerated move up to 40, touched on 40, and then just sort of failed from there. But we really come down and have a major test at 28 to 27.50. Touched down a couple of times, and then we built. This is what's interesting me on the weekly basis, that higher low. So at the moment we're just attacking that. What is it, 31.30? So we've just sort of probably taken out those highs, previous highs. It doesn't mean it's going to keep going. It could just wash it out and then roll over, and this could just be another lower high like we've seen. But if that's we can see just the buyers they stepped in a bit earlier here, just above that 28, as we have another push down, and we're back up towards that inside lower high there. So that's starting to look to me a bit interesting. I think there is potential if we start pushing through here and then we get up to say 32. I think this market, it may just go into consolidation for a while. We don't know, but I think it's starting to build that longer term base for potential move up to the highs. So that's just Westpac. If we just have a bit of a look at some of the others, no need to draw this up. We've got CBA is had that correction here, and it had a long strong move up there through mid 2011. I'd say end of 2011, after that contraction through 2010-11, and then had for a couple of years just pushed up, and we made the highs around 95, 96, just up here, and then contracted lower from there. But we're starting to hold this 70 zone. It's not a pure hard and fast level. We did get a bit of action and reaction around that level previously. You can see just in here, sort of bounced off 70, and it's more back then. It was more just the whole number, that round number, top move. Rate rise do though enable banks to increase their interest rate margins. So that's what I'm gearing it up towards that, at least in that shorter term. If we start seeing a few foreclosures, then okay. But that, I think, is longer term. It's probably a couple of rate rises before people start getting hurt. So I'm just seeing a bit of interest in the bank. You see that 70 mark, it's, reacted off it, pushed straight through. Obviously a big reaction back down, but then we just sort of oscillating around that 70, pushed back above, retest, and then we started building those higher lows. Higher low, and for that really big push up. Now we took out this level, it was about 73.4 zone here, but we really tested one, made that lower high up here, pushed back down to 70, another lower high, back at 70, and it's sort of holding that 70 zone at the moment. The thing is with CBA, it's a bit different to Westpac, it hasn't really built a higher low where we potentially could be just getting that squeeze. It is still holding lower highs. We've got a zone through here at about $78, $79. You can see those it touched there twice. It's a minor double top, just an inside double top, I guess. But it's still looking like there's a bit of pressure on the downside, but it is holding up at 70. So it'll be interesting to see if we can pop through these highs at 75, say, push through. We may just go into consolidation before we start building for a move higher. Otherwise, if it starts washing out this 70 zone, we could have just a sort of a bigger, deeper correction or a major washout before we see any sort of action. And what about ANZ? ANZ is probably a bit different. We just might have to get popped back a bit. You can see that move up, big deep through the GFC, was it? Yep. And then we had the action made at high, low, and here inside levels taken out through 25. It's on a monthly chart for another big leg up. So whether we're just getting this type of action and we start consolidating or contracting in on itself, contracting in here, holding a major high, low, and then building for a move up, it'd be interesting to see on ANZ. But longer term, it's just showing some, I think, some good signs. Look at the last one. What have we got here? NAB. Okay, we'll just go out to monthly on that as well. NAB's not as pretty, to be honest. Let me just draw that up. I think it might be a bit more interesting drawing that up. Just what I'm seeing there. So I can't remember, what are we on the monthly? Yep, this is a monthly chart. So yeah, I'm seeing some sort of levels through here. You did get that big wash there, and sort of we attempted to push back down, made that high low just in here. And there's sort of a key level zone through there, kept touching before we started breaking, building that high low and working its way up, pushed through this high, but really didn't go on with it too. Had a good extended sort of move up through there, big pullback, and then we've consolidated around that 32 mark, sort of held that and then pushed up, but we just fell through that recently. So for me, it's a tougher one. I'm not seeing anything as clear cut as say some of the other banks. It looks a bit messy on that time frame anyway, but if it holds sort of this 24, 25, 26 zone, which is just rejected recently, we still want to see on the monthly basis even just a bit of contraction maybe before we potentially see a move up. Those MAs are down at the moment on the monthly basis. We want to see them come in together, contract in before we potentially see that move up. But if we go down to, we'll just quickly look at a weekly. Go along a bank. Which would you pick? That's a very good question. I've just been dabbling in Westpac. I still, out of all of them, I'm leaning towards Westpac. Only because it's this type of price section. I like that. There's double bottom, a minor wash out of that low there. Market's contracted on itself, but we built that high low potentially, and once we're starting to see signs of that now, I think that it's probably got some work to do. If you look at this action through here, that was a good couple of years at least. I'm not saying that we probably got another half a year to go before something happens, but if you take into account rate rises and things like that, they're not a quick thing either. So there could be still a bit more work to do before we see that base hold and we start seeing a push out. And we want to see, something like that. You want to see these high lows hold, maybe get retested some of these insides. So this may just be a retest here, build another high low, then pop through it. But we want to see somewhere where it's pushed up, taken out some levels, not just by 1 or 2 cents or probably 20 or 30 cents on this basis, but a bigger push through, then a minor pullback, because that's a sign of strength, and then you want to get that acceleration up. So what we've seen here, we're still on a weekly, we probably can't see it on the daily, but you get that move up, pull back during the week, and that's held. It's sort of, that's a good leg up from this big base. It's taken out this high, it's taken out this high, all in that one move. Then it's only a weak pullback. So a weak pullback is more of a sign of strength, and then you start getting acceleration, a bit better correction over a few weeks, and then that big acceleration up. So this is Westpac. Yeah, so that's sort of what we're aiming to look at. It could take some time to play out. Yeah, but I don't mind Westpac, CBA. I think it's still got some work to do. Still got to show a bit of signs. I don't know if they hold the biggest mortgage book as well. Who knows? I'm not up to date with all the fundamentals of it, but they could do that. So they might have more risk at the moment. But ANZ, yeah, a bit. I don't like the way. I would like to see a deeper correction, before, and then build that a deeper higher low before it moves up. But I think this has got a bit different price action. Big push up, a deep correction here, another push up, another deep correction, and then it's having these deeper pullbacks than the others. But yeah, there's that was just going over the banks. Now we're getting on 11. I just want to go through. If anyone's got anything they just want to have a quick look at, yeah, please put it through. Just look at a few others. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Pan is something we started looking at yesterday, and we didn't really have a good eye on it just previously, but it looks nice. It would have been, a beautiful little entry around that 22 to 24 mark, if you can see what I'm pointing at there. If we just go back, we just quickly mark up that. I think just trying to build that trade, we might be late to the boat. That's the biggest problem. And so be it. That's what I guess we risk by just not catching this a bit earlier. But you've got a good level through here. It's had a big push down into that. It's held that. Good reaction up, come down, made a high low. Reaction back up, took out these highs, and then it started retesting those. So it's not a sharper move. It's starting to get a bit more time. So that's it's just forming that base. It's built another higher low here. Obviously lower high, so that's sort of squeezing in, and then it had that reaction, that good strong move up off a higher low. But you can see this reaction down, reaction up are quite sharp, and we want to see those moves come out, that volatility come out of the market and then you can see the structures holding higher lows, coming down. So it's only a matter of time before the market's got to break either way. If it breaks down, but the fact that it's moved down quite strong is going to be a big effort. So you're leaning towards a break up, and then you just want to see that sort of price action that's had a good accelerated move up. So in here we've got a similar type of price action I'm seeing. Through the highs, you had that good accelerated move up. So when it has an accelerated move and then you get that lower high, you just want to see some of that is going to come out. Some of the buys will be put back on the sideline for more, just to try and build. If you can put buyers on the sideline, it's just getting that energy ready for a potential breakup, and getting people back on the sidelines so they can re-enter. But if everyone's in the market, and no one's left on the sidelines, the market can't move. So that's the idea behind those big washouts. You can see that's happened there. Built a base at 20, pushed up, retested 29, and built another higher low. So just in here was ideal. Would have been an ideal entry just through here. I see that as just a beautiful longer term. We've got the lows down here. It's pushed up, accelerated move up. Built another. You pushed down, washed out this low, built a higher low. A higher low in context to down here at 20. Built another higher low, and then that accelerated move up. So we don't know what's going to happen from here. I'm hoping we get a bit of a pullback into the zone, and then build from here. Build a higher low in there, which we can attack. Somewhere around the 26 mark would be ideal, but this market, just that strength, it could just hold, be retesting 29 at the moment, that little breakout, maybe a minor pullback to 28, 28 and a half, and then go. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But we could expect a bit of this price action in here. Not a great pullback. We're not retesting any significant area. Well, we did through there, I guess. We might get that type of price action before, it gets that big accelerated move up, but we'll keep an eye on that closely. Now, BOQ. Let's just take a look at that then. Okay, I think this is, I'm not seeing anything just at the moment on the long side. Still right back, so we had that big move up, big contraction lower. Okay, so there's a major high low at $6 thereabouts. Had a big push up to 14. So we don't know if it's just longer term contracting back down. What I like to look at is stochastics. I know I say this all the time, getting oversold, but it just means that move down is running out of steam. And if you've got a major high low here at 6, it's not getting near that. So we're potentially going to be looking to build that higher low. We could easily just, doesn't mean anything on stochastic, maybe push back up, roll back over, push back up, and just oscillate between 50 and 25 as the market grinds down. But then we're looking to price action, so we just know that we're starting to get into that zone where there potentially could be a higher low building here, and then we look at the price action. First and foremost is always price action. All right, weekly. Okay, we've got that $10. It's just washed it out over the last few days, I'm guessing. Coming off those highs, we're building lower highs, lower lows. It could still, we've got a lower high in place still at 1150. It could still be rolling over, building another, pushing lower to 950. We don't know just yet. Not too many significant levels through there on the weekly basis. We've had that contraction lower to 6. That's what we were just talking about previously. I think there's been a major test. Yeah, it's 6 here. So that bounce, that reaction off $6, pushed out, taken out this high. So we may just be in contraction zone at the moment. We don't know where it's going. There's nothing really to base it off as such. So I'm more inclined just to be on the sidelines in this one. I think we've got a major level up at 1150. So it's still got a fair bit to go before we start seeing that maybe it's going out of, it's just, had a bit of a washout down here into a good zone here. We could just be seeing, if we get a high low, building a minor higher low, we could just be working our way back up to that 1150 zone before rolling over again. We don't know. So I think it's still got a bit of work to do anyway. Before we go from contraction to expansion and expand up. Anyway, anything else we just want to have a quick look at? One more that we've got our eye on. Seen some signs here. I think if we just drill it back out, the weekly doesn't look as, it's still, it's had that big strong move up from 5 all the way to 35 thereabouts on the weekly basis, contracting lower, then bang, popped higher. If you can see that, nice little zone in here potentially to trade from on the weekly basis if you're drilling it down to a daily, which was sort of in here. Contraction lower on the weekly, then you hold it higher low. Would have been nice to be buying in there. You didn't get that accelerated move up because you're just within this, just below that high. Back here, just below 9. Pop through, and then you can see, as soon as you start taking out highs and you pull back into the zone and hold higher lows, good sign. And you can see that accelerated move up. And that would have been great to be able to jump on board that. So longer term, we draw that up just on EDE. Alright, so we've got a holding through here, holding high lows in there. We are holding lower highs. We touched up there 27 a few times. We potentially could be squeezing into that zone with high lows, so putting pressure on there. Just taking out that minor level there. It doesn't mean too much just yet, but still starting to, showing some good signs. I think that's where we're going to come into. We may head up to 27 rollover, and if we can build another higher low, I think this has got that potential to really, we're starting to get that curve up, which we like to see. Okay, so yeah, I think if this can hold, that level 19, if we can just sort of get that pop, it's retested, and then we've just taken out this inside level here. If we can get that to work its way back up and then build again that sort of price structure, with another higher low, we could just preempting a nice little break of 27. But we'll see how that goes. This one's EDE. It's I've got Eden Innovations, but that doesn't look right. Eden Innovations. What's happened there? I thought it was Eden Energy. Looks like a name change. Anyway, EDE is the stock code. That hasn't changed. Alright. Anything else you just have a look at, Paul? Anyone out there that wants to check through a chart? We'll probably call it a day there. Let's just see where this market is at the moment. Just take a quick overview. So still, it's just backed off from up 15. So take a quick look at those futures again to see what they're doing. Could be an interesting one. Yeah, they're just sort of still holding those sort of touching back down to support. So we'll see how that goes anyway. So there we are, guys. It's another day. End of the week. We'll see how that goes for the rest of the day. But at the moment, it's looking like it could just end up a bit of a flat day for now. There's quite a bit of action. I think there's some tired fingers out there from hitting the buy sell buttons the last few days. So, but yeah, just remember again on Monday. This coming Monday, we'll be doing it at a different time slot around that 12:30 mark. But you'll get an alert out, just letting you know what time. Okay. If there's no more questions, thanks very much for joining us, and we'll speak to you on Monday. Have a great weekend.